And still a mess, though. Southbound delays into the 110s. Northbound still backing up to the 20s. So skip by the east side for the time being till that clears out. The west side, quiet open. Head there instead. And here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Quiet on the George tonight and no problems at the Lincoln or Holland tunnels. A bit slow both ways now on the Brooklyn Bridge. And to the delay, our next report at 8:51. 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Bullets flew today in two separate police-involved incidents of gunfire. One in Jamaica, Queens, but first we go to the one in Bed-Stuy. In this narrow apartment building hallway, police say they knocked on the door of the unit they'd just been told was being robbed. A man opens the door only slightly, with his hand at his side.
The man starts to raise up his left hand and has a firearm in his hand.
NYPD Chief of Department Jeff Madry says the 78-year-old started charging at officers. They fired.
The man was removed to a local hospital and eventually succumbed to his injuries.
Madry admits there's a lot they are trying to figure out here. They don't know if there was actually a robbery. They don't know why this man pointed his gun at uniformed officers.
This is a tragic situation. Officers were put in a life-and-death situation. Investigating the crime.
Steve Burns, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in Bed-Stuy. The New York AG's office special investigation opening a probe into this case. And police say in Queens, receiving reports of somebody acting in a suspicious manner in front of First Presbyterian Church at 164th Street this afternoon before 4. Investigators say a 40-year-old church security guard who initially confronted the suspect was stabbed in the stomach, which is when he called police. NYPD Chief of Patrol John Chell picks up the story from there.
When 103 arrives, they encounter our subject with a knife on the adjacent staircase of a church on the property. The male gets up with his knife, starts waving at the officers, and starts coming towards the officers. Our officers
again, also an exercise in court decision-making.
When he did
not be waving knives at
the suspect after shooting him twice.
Unless your aspiration is to become shower head or colander.
Both victim suspect transported to a local hospital for treatment. A host of charges takes down 8 suspects accused of terrorizing Long Island with gang-related shootings.
This Crips gang shot suspected rivals and innocent bystanders in the process of their violent turf wars. Nassau DA Ann Donnelly explaining,
as alleged today, Queen Chambers participated in more than a dozen shootings and 2 homicides in just 2 years.
And there were so many guns fired and fired again.
Out of those 26 guns, connected to multiple shootings.
First Assistant U.S. Attorney Carolyn Picorni says the defendants also stole small on how to apply and defeat the software for identity verification. Julia Papa, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
And all officials say this was part of a 59-count indictment. Among the charges, racketeering, murder, conspiracy, and attempted kidnapping. Wins News Time 8:45. Former President Trump was back in the city answering questions for a deposition, part 2, in connection with his company's business practices. Meeting with lawyers for the Attorney General's office, whose lawsuit claims he misled banks and others about the value of his assets.
Trump was back in his once-beloved New York for a deposition in a civil case accusing the Trump Organization of business fraud. Sources say Trump did answer questions, unlike his first deposition in August, when he took the fifth more than 400 times.
I declined to answer the question.
Then and now he accused New York Attorney General Letitia James of bias.
This is the greatest witch hunt in the history of our country.
Correspondent Major Garrett with the story. On to the fires, the fierce